Hello, this is Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio. This week, we're going to have a rebroadcast of one of our earlier classic podcasts. We hope you enjoy it, and thanks so much for listening. Episode number 691. Giving is transformational.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
Oh, Priscilla, I have been to so many countries online over the last few weeks. I can't even keep count anymore. I mean, one of the advantages of doing so many meetings online is that you can be in one part of the world in the morning and a completely different part of the world in the afternoon. So that part has been really fantastic. So visiting a lot of regions around the world.
That's really amazing. I think that's great. So tell us what you're offering us today. What do you have?
Yeah. So my topic today is giving is transformational. And the concept is from a book that I've talked about here on BNI Podcast, and I've had my co-authors on. The book is Infinite Giving, and I co-wrote it with Greg Davies and Julian Lewis. It's a great little book, and you'll see it on the side here of BNI Podcast. If you have a chance, pick up a copy. It's a quick read. And so I want to talk about the transformational aspect of giving. The world can be a pretty dark and contentious place. We've got illness, famine, poverty, hostility. There's desperation all around us, but it doesn't have to be that way for us. The world can be a better place, and we can make a choice to be a voice of change. And that change can transform the world we live in. Business people, I believe, are well positioned to help make that change. Years ago, I implemented the phrase into the fabric of the core values of the company. That simple phrase is givers gain. And it was really a game changer in giving people a different framework relating to the way they network with others. Givers gain is so integrated into the DNA of BNI. We, I think, sometimes forget that this was a completely different strategy in 1985. I mean, most people, networking was about hunting. It was about, finding someone and closing deals. And the idea of givers gain was truly a transformational idea. And I love the way that it has been so incredibly embraced throughout the organization. I think that giving is an idea that proclaims that we can be something bigger than ourselves. It's a reaffirmation that our lives have significant meaning and that through community we can be our best selves. For people who get that, this philosophy, I think, unlocks a whole new world of meaning and opportunity. So our job in BNI, I believe, is to help people get it. More importantly, we can be intentional about helping people get it to reach that place. In 2010, Greater Good magazine wrote that the National Institutes of Health found that when people give to others, it activates regions of the brain associated with pleasure, social connection, and trust, creating a warm glow effect, they called it. Scientists also believe that altruistic behavior releases endorphins in the brain, producing the positive feeling known as the helper's high. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, your neck of the woods,
That's right,
Priscilla, found that people who volunteered to multiple organizations were 44% less likely to die over a 5-year period than non-volunteers. That blew me away. The author of Loneliness, Human Nature, and the Need for Social Connection says that the more extensive the reciprocal altruism born of a social connection, the greater the advance towards health, wealth, and happiness. And I think that's really the foundation of what BNI is and certainly should be around the world. So there is I think a profound ripple effect that takes place through the act of consciously practicing a giving philosophy. And I've seen the dramatic impact that one person can have on another, never any more than last year. The 2020 year, I was just so proud of BNI and BNI members and what they did for each other. I've observed the surging ripple that takes place as an act impacts one person and then the next person and the next person and so on. Within a community or a network, that ripple effect that takes place from this philosophy can influence hundreds, and it can influence thousands of people. In fact, I really believe it can influence the world. That's why our vision statement is changing the way the world does business. I think I've said this in a previous podcast, but it's worth repeating. Giving is contagious. Conscious giving can be infinite. There's a Chinese saying, if you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help somebody. For centuries, I think the greatest thinkers have suggested the same thing. Happiness is found in giving, in helping others. The results from this philosophy cannot be observed as a straight line in life. It's a complex zigzag of interconnected relationships that lead to a place of contentment and fulfillment, and it begins with the right mindset. It's about taking off your bib and putting on an apron. It's not about what's in it for you or how much you can get. It's about serving and helping others in a very conscious way. Not doing so in a way that ignores the fact that there are takers in the world, but in a way that consciously chooses to find your fellow givers in the world. It's easy to be cynical and to think that the help you can offer is negligible, but it only takes a small gesture to sometimes change people's lives. I've talked about this in podcasts before, and I think it's so important. We've all had people who are in our story. They're people that we talk about who have changed our life in some way. However, I think something's even more important. And to me, the real question is not who's in your story, but whose story are you in? Whose life have we made a difference in? This is what creates a meaningful life. We're in the beginning of the year. It's a great time to be a role model for the people around you. To start the year really being there to support and help your fellow BNI members and others. We often, I think, look at the world and hope that someday things will be different. But I have a good friend. As a matter of fact, I just had dinner with her a few nights ago, Sam Horn. And Sam says something that I really love. She even has a book by this name. Someday is not a day of the week. I love that expression. Someday is not a day of the week. If we wait for someday, we're waiting for others to make the first move. I believe someday can be today, and it can start with us. Today is as good a day as any to be our someday. We can all make a difference in people's lives starting today. And that difference starts with a transformational change within us in how we deal with people around us and the world beyond them. We would be giving without a transactional expectation, giving to people in all parts of our life appropriately. We would understand that we give what we can afford and that it's okay to gain. Give what you can afford. Give from your saucer, not your cup. It's a phrase that we use in infinite giving. And that it's absolutely okay to gain in such an environment. I think it's important that we remain humble, where saying thank you is the norm. And I think that we can start small, but we can start today. Begin local, but think global. If we influence one life, you begin to influence the world. So just start with that person next to you and know that you may not make a world of difference, but you can make a difference in the world. And you do that one person at a time. Priscilla, I thought this was an important message to start off
Yeah,
new
perfect.
year after having such a challenging year last year. It's a great message to begin this year with.
I totally agree, Ivan. I think it's beautiful. I don't know how to state this exactly, but giving is something that gives me huge pleasure. So I love this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And I would urge people take a look at the book Infinite Giving. It's a quick read. You can read it in 2 hours. And we talk about so many things in there about what the 7 principles are for giver's gain, and that being an infinite giver doesn't mean you're an infinite victim. There are lines. You have to have discernment. We talk about that, but it has to start from a position of being willing to give and to help and support other people. And if you start with that in mind and have discernment as you go through life and through your business, I think you'll find that at the end of your career, you'll look back and really feel like you've made a difference in people's lives. And more importantly, they'll look at you and feel like you've made a difference in their lives. And I think that's a life well lived.
Me too.
So that's it for today, Priscilla. I hope you enjoyed that message.
I totally enjoyed that message. Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
So I'd just like to say that the sponsor for this podcast is Ivan's Inner Circle. Go check out the great content available at www.ivansinnercircle.com. He's assembled a variety of interesting topics for you to learn about and also to participate in. So thank you so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.